Back to TalkNorth.com. Thank you for listening. If you can, please download before you listen. It helps our business. I'd also like to thank our producer, Brandon Morton, and let you know if you'd like to sponsor this program or any of the programs on the network, you can reach me at jsouhan47@gmail.com. Interesting game, not because it was close, but because of all the ramifications, all the hidden meanings, all the developments. That's what makes the NFL fascinating, of course, even a 34-14 victory, which the Vikings had today over the Raiders. Yes, we are doing the show right after the game. There are still these nuances that are fun to talk about, and I think Dalvin Cook and everything around him is the ultimate nuance for this team and how the coaching staff treats him. Let's get into that. This is the Viking Update Show. John Krawczynski from The Athletic is here with me. I'm Jim Souhan from the Star Tribune. This is our network, TalkNorth.com. You can find all the shows there. Subscribe to your favorite podcast app. Thanks to Twill and the Dining Galleria, Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent and Champlin, and BiteSquad.com, promo code TalkNorth to get your first delivery fee waived. So Dalvin Cook pretty obviously is, if not their best player, the most important player. And he might be their best player too. And, you know, I mentioned this talking to some other people. I've been covering the NFL since 1989. It's amazing how often an NFL team will go into a season talking about running the ball more, talking about a point of emphasis. They get 2-3 games in, throw their hands up, and just do whatever they do naturally. They are really determined to make Dalvin Cook the focal point of this team, and it's worked pretty well.
It has worked pretty well, and the interesting thing, I mean, even right after the game today, Mike Zimmer said they know they'll have a tougher test next week at Chicago, but they're going to give it a shot anyway, basically. And so this is really the identity of the team right now, is run the ball, grind the clock, be explosive in that area, and then make enough plays in the passing game to win. And it's a unique element, I think, in the NFL right now. I think it makes defending the Vikings sort of like going to Nebraska and defending the wishbone back in the day. I mean, it was, it's just the veer option. These kinds of things are take a long time, I think, to get used to for opposing defenses who are being spread out all the time now and having to face 4 wide receivers and 50 throws a game. This is something totally different nowadays. And so I think that at least early on so far this season, we have seen even the Packers had trouble with it too. And I think it's an adjustment for a defense to say, okay, we're going to go from being used to having to chase little guys around the field to having to buck up and just hammer into a running back and an offensive line 30 times a game. And so it's given them something different, something unique, and so far it has worked. And at this point, like, I don't see sort of a zig back to, Cousins coming out firing 50 times. They'll do it if they have to, but I really think this is the identity that they want. They want to run, and hope that you don't have to use Kirk Cousins to throw the ball 45 times in a game.
This reminds me, too, of, when Adrian Peterson rushed for 2,097 yards in 2012, I would run into Vikings fans on the road after games, something like that, and they'd say, but didn't they get too conservative in the second half? And I'd say, they have a better chance breaking a big play, handing to Adrian Peterson, than they do having Christian Ponder drop back. They have a higher chance of getting a huge play, higher chance of a long touchdown, and less of a chance of a turnover. That's not conservative. It's just smart. That's what you're seeing with this offense is you had to Dalvin Cook. He might get you 20. He might get you 50. He might get you 80. He might grind out a first down. And it's not only safer than throwing it, it's more explosive than throwing it, unless you get a play that's set up by Dalvin's runs that opens somebody wide open like Adam Thielen was today.
There's definitely a misconception that comes with a run-first offense that it is 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Like, that's not what this offense has been so far. Dalvin had the big run last week in Green Bay. He had a couple of big runs on second and longs in this game. And so they understand that every time the ball is in his hands, it can be a big, big play. And so that does make them dynamic offensively. Now, I think Cousins is certainly a better quarterback than Christian Ponder, but we're still, I think, in that mode, especially when they play really good teams, where he is definitely going to be a game manager and not sort of the I'm going to win this thing with my arm and throwing for 400 yards. They want Dalvin to be their home run hitter. And then if Kirk Cousins can take advantage in the play action, can open things up for Thielen, for Diggs, for Irv Smith, who had a good game today as well, that will help things and make them more balanced for sure. But yes, I think every time that Dalvin touches it, like Adrian in that season, you kind of think, you just hold your breath for a second and see, hey, if he breaks a tackle, he could be off to the races.
And Adrian was great. And he was an incredibly physical runner, and he was extremely fast. So he could do just about everything. I'm not going to jump ahead of myself and pretend that Dalvin Cook has proven he's better than Adrian Peterson was in his prime, because Adrian Peterson was great. I will say he's almost more fun to watch, just because if there are two guys ahead of him, he's not going to lower his head and try to hurt somebody. He's going to make him fall down. I mean, this is, he's got great straight line speed. He's got enough power. He's a strong guy, but he can also make cuts and moves that, they're kind of like Barry Sanders Jr. Nobody's like Barry Sanders, who can go backwards when he wanted to, but he's got an incredible blend of moves, cuts, jukes, whatever, that make him just fun to watch because he's so unpredictable.
Yeah, he is definitely elusive. He can definitely run through arm tackles, as he showed in one of the runs. I think he broke like 5 tackles in one run that set up Alexander Madison's touchdown. But so he can do it that way. I'll still say, like, for me, I think Adrian was just a breathtaking runner. The way that he hit a hole and burst through it, I think, is something incredibly, incredibly unique. I think the chance for Dalvin to close the gap between himself and Adrian that we saw today as well is he can really catch the ball out of the backfield, and he can be a real element of the passing game where Adrian never really was. Dalvin's a pretty good blocker as well in pass protection. Adrian just isn't. And so that's going to be I think if Dalvin can stay healthy and have a long career here, the way that he gets up into that class of Adrian Peterson, Robert Smith, Chuck Foreman is by being as versatile as he has shown to be so far this year. It will take a lot for me to say he eclipses Adrian just as a pure runner, just because I don't know that I've ever seen anybody like him.
I covered a lot of Vikings teams that played against Barry Sanders, and to me, Barry Sanders is the most incredible runner I've ever seen. Emmitt Smith is probably the most efficient runner I've ever seen. Adrian was probably the best physical runner I've ever seen. And Dalvin Cook, I don't know where he's going to end up fitting in, but I'm just enjoying this. And sometimes we all need to remember to enjoy sports. This is fun to watch.
And the other thing, Jim, about Dalvin is, I think, like Adrian, he has a way of resonating with his teammates that's pretty special. Mm-hmm. These guys love blocking for him. They speak super highly of him just as a presence on the practice field, in the locker room, what he brings to the table that way. It's a group that knows that they want to work their asses off down the field to be the guy that springs him. And I think that is something that is going to be in his favor going forward, because let's face it, like, the receivers can get a little tired of run, but I do think that both Thielen and Diggs pride themselves in their downfield blocking, and the way that they respect Dalvin and the way that Dalvin has carried himself makes them want to work for him, and that's going to be a big advantage for him as well.
I want to talk about Stefon Diggs next. Let's thank Twill in the Edina Galleria. TWILLMN.com is the website. Check them out on Instagram as well. And just stop by. It's convenient. It's a great place to shop. Really relaxed. I was in the other day, bought some winter boots, and this is a great time to buy because they have all the new fall stuff in. It's just so comfortable, and it's made to last. It will last you the rest of your life, at least if you're as old as I am. I'm here with my wife, Stacy. We went to Twill in the Edina Galleria the other day. We saw Scott Dayton, and I bought the nicest sport jacket I've ever owned, the most comfortable pants I've ever owned. They're Brax. A nice pair of loafers that I can wear to the ballpark. I think they're called Tracks. And I bought a bunch of Stenstrom short sleeve shirts to go with my Stenstrom nice dress shirts. And, I used to wear just disposable clothes. Now when I buy something, I buy it at Twill. I know it's going to last me the rest of my life, and it's going to be comfortable.
And on top of that, it's not just the best stuff you've ever had, but it's really everyday things that you can wear and that will fit all occasions.
Twill in the Edina Galleria, twillmn.com, Twill on Instagram. Interesting development in this offense is last year Diggs and Thielen were the focuses, I think, of the offense, and they had great years, and they're great receivers. This year Thielen has been somewhat productive. Diggs really hasn't been. He had one catch at Green Bay. He had 3 catches for 15 yards today. That's just not who he is. It's not the way the offense should probably work. What do you read into that?
Yeah, it's been interesting. Arif Hassan at The Athletic had an interesting story earlier this week about that. And you look at his numbers coming out of Green Bay, especially, and there wasn't much there. But in watching the film, he is getting open. He's running great routes.
Yep.
And the ball is just not finding him yet. And whether that is on Cousins missing him or just the way that things are being executed to this point, he just has not been on the receiving end very much yet. So what that tells you is it's not a case of a diminished performance by Diggs. He's doing his job. And then it's going to be up to Cousins to find him, the offensive line to give Cousins protection, the play calling to go the right way, the defense to give them the look that makes Cousins look in Diggs' direction a little bit more, and then I think he is poised when they do eventually start to need to throw more, maybe even next week against Chicago. He's poised to have some big games. It just has not happened yet. And I'm not so concerned about it right now just because of what you are seeing from him in the route running and everything. He doesn't seem to be dogging it at all because it's not coming his way. But I do think in a perfect world, they would start to reward him for some of that work. Get him 4 or 5 catches, get him even 60 to 80 yards. Just let him know that, hey, you are in the offense. We're going to find you. Just to keep everything locked in that way. I think that was sort of what this week was for Thielen with the touchdown catch, and then the run for the short run for a touchdown as well, is to kind of get him more involved. But then also now, Diggs' turn will be coming here eventually, I think.
I would think so. Let's talk about the division as it stands. Once again, remember, Tony Hoaglund, Hoaglund, mention the Viking Update Show or Talk North, and he will donate $10 to a charity that's associated with the show, and State Farm will donate another $10. So just calling up and having a conversation with Tony about what his business offers, which is insurance and also financial services, will lead to a $20 charitable donation. Tony's been great to work with. He's great to work with because he handles my insurance and Michael Russo's insurance.
Hi, Talk North listeners. I wanted to let you all know about State Farm's new Quotes for Good program. We partner with local nonprofits to raise money for great causes. The Viking Update Show, I will donate $10 to the Adam Thielen Foundation, benefiting the University of Minnesota Masonic Children's Hospital. When you call in, be sure to mention the show so that we can track the donations. You can reach us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at champlininsurance.com.
So as the division stands right now, Packers are 3-0, Lions 2-0-1, Vikings 2-1, Bears 1-1, and of course, if the Vikings convert one more time, they're probably the 3-0 team. But the Lions are better than I expected, at least to date. The Bears are a little shakier than I expected them to look at this point. They're lucky to have one victory so far. Vikings probably, right about where you thought. You thought to be 2-1 or 3-0, and Chicago's just not that impressive. They could easily win at Chicago. This division, in some ways, because the Bears aren't as scary, looks a little easier than we might have thought coming into the season.
Yeah, and Detroit's win at